Welcome to When the Dutch Went to Space, and we are already in episode number 3. It's an RP-1 playthrough with realism overhaul and real solar system. And this is an exciting episode because we're finally going to orbit. Yes, gone are the days of sounding rockets and endless grinding. The first mission is the V2B, mission Snap, launching on the 13th of August 1954. It's a field mission. And we're trying to figure out if we want to keep this program or not. I decided to quit it after this mission and start doing orbital missions, but then discovered I can't actually do them until I completed the program. So you're looking at the last of the classic V2Bs. It's time for our own launcher. Germany launched over 5,000 of these, and then the Americans and the USSR continued that for about a decade. So we're early. But yeah, it's time for something else, but we still have this downrange contract that we have to do. So I created this Frankenstein rocket. It's called a V2C. Basically, it's 3 of the existing V2Bs slapped together. And it was originally designed to go at least 4,000 kilometers, but we haven't even done the 3,000 one. So I'm gonna use this one. And the idea of clustering stuff together is not new. Now, did you know that the Saturn I that von Braun designed for the Apollo program was actually 8 redstone tanks clustered together for very much the same reason as we are doing it. We're reusing the tooling. Now, of course, this footage has been sped up. You've seen this so many times now. The Veronique's ignite. Ha! That's great news. And we actually will make it downrange. We appear to hit Iran. I'm not sure if that's a great idea, but I don't think that in 1955 they were able to detect incoming ballistic missiles, so we're probably good. Wouldn't try this at home. Anyway, you can see the payload flying over, and we move over to the 21st of April 1956, and yeah, that should have worked, but it didn't. We're testing the new launch vehicle. You can see the Gamma engine. One of them actually failed. Most of the footage got corrupted for some reason, so I have very little to talk over. It's running kerosene peroxide. It's an oxidizer that was used, basically 85% peroxide, so not the stuff you bleach your hair with. Closed cycle, very interesting. Yeah, it gets adapted into the Stentor missile, which we're seeing in the side boosters on this particular vessel, which is the lower stage. And by now you must have realized that my launch pad was not finished, and I really wanted to test out this rocket and get some data on the engine. So we're running it in 2 sessions. This one's even half fueled, but it's testing all the systems, and we're trying to figure out if the boosters work. We're actually going downrange with this. It's using a Delta engine. That was a secret project. I could not find much information about it. Westcott's secret project aimed at a 22-ton rocket, which is about a third of what we have. But it has a 50,000-pound chamber pressure, and then it gets better over time. We finished the spaceport. Yes, finally. 3 additional launch pads, 2 runways, lots of science cars. It was fun to build, but such a pain to get it level. It's all in preparation of our first mission to orbit, the Puck mission, which is of course a nice wordplay on the first British satellite, which was also called Puck, but then with CK. And the British named it after the Lone Wanderer in the Sky from Shakespeare. But after the UK basically sold out their engineering team to the US by stopping the Black Arrow program and starting running seeds on scout rockets from the US, they actually renamed the satellite to Prospero, which is also from Shakespeare. But it's the magician who gave up his magical powers, which, gotta give it to the British, that's satire in its purest form. Puck, of course, with just the K, is from Puck of the Pettenflat, which is a famous Dutch book for a children's book. And Puck inhabits the top apartment on the roof of the apartment building, and he makes new friends as he goes, because that's what we do. So we're using the Delta engine together with a couple of Stentors on the first stage, burning RP-1, and second stage is built out of Gamma engines. We got a cluster. We actually got 2 clusters on the first stage. And whoa, what's happening over there? Somebody is doing a somersault. I guess some people in engineering just got fired. But the guidance on the second stage actually picks it up. And we're off. The you can see I squeezed in 2 of the Gamma 8. I think it's called Gamma 8 or Gamma 4. Maybe a Gamma 4. Anyway, I squeezed them into that stage, giving it a little bit more power than the original Black Arrow. And that's because my electronics are still very heavy. But they're super reliable, which is awesome. I really love that about the British engine. And there's Puck going into a polar orbit. First scientific satellite, first polar orbit. And yeah, it's gathering data. It's sending out a message to the world. And we're first. I still have the 4K downrange contract and I don't want to go back to the V2s. So I took another one of the NL missiles. It was a little bit too heavy for this launch pad to be fully fueled, so I added some tanks on the side that you saw in the beginning. And this one should be more than comfortable to make that 4,000 kilometer downrange contract, because I really need to close that program. You can see the booster here flying. It has, of course, a sounding payload in the nose cone. That's the only thing I custom made for this rocket. We're trying to save on cost here. But if you look out your window, you can see India. And we're dumping it in the Indian Ocean. And the final mission of this episode is the second mission of the NL-1. Launched on the 15th of February 1958. You can see it takes quite a bit of time to build these rockets. I need to hire more engineers. The second mission is called Dolly, which is of course the friend of Puck. This time launching into a more eccentric orbit, launching eastwards. And we're basically replicating Explorer 1, which was the US mission to discover the Van Allen belts, which is exactly what we're going to do. So the Earth has a magnetic core that protects us, and we're trying to figure out where it is. This will tax the rocket to its limits. We'll have 64 meters per second left to place Dolly into a 310 by 1510 kilometer orbit. I'm not sure of the exact dates, but I think the USSR was a little bit earlier. Fascinating fact, the Van Allen belts were actually predicted by a Dutch physicist called Eva Marie Bruins in 1938, and he already wrote a paper on the existence of these Van Allen belts with the magnetic fields, and he did some observations and studies around it, but it's all theory until you actually go up there, and that's exactly what Dolly is doing, gathering that sweet science that we need to continue, because oh boy, are we desperate for more science. See you in the next episode.